Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of AACRAO's Credential Chats. We are joined this week by Dr. Brenda Schumann. She is the Assistant Vice Provost and University Registrar at University of Texas, Austin, and an AACRAO Award winner. Brenda, thanks so much for joining with us.
Thanks, Noah. Great to see you and great to talk about digital badging.
I mean, digital badging, micro-credentials, people might not know this, but you've been on this journey and leading, not just for your campus, but AACRAO for, multiple years now, going back to the AACRAO Alternative Credentials Work Group report that you co-authored in 2022. And you now are building out, some really robust and exciting badging and micro-credentialing initiative. I think is the DBI, the Digital Badge Initiative at UT Austin. Maybe a good place to start is just kind of an overview of just what is the Digital Badging Initiative at UT Austin.
Yeah, thanks, Noah. So to just kind of backtrack to what you talked about originally, for those of you who haven't had a chance, back in maybe 22, AACRAO published Alternative Credentials report, work group reports. If you haven't had a chance to review that and you're just getting started in the alternative credential space, go back and review it because it's really helpful, a helpful primer to get you started. So like Noah mentioned, I work at the University of Texas at Austin. I'm Assistant Vice Provost and University Registrar. And I've been involved in the badging initiative here at UT since its inception. I will freely admit digital badging prior to, we're in 25, prior to fall of 24, it was housed within academic affairs. And in the fall of 24, it transitioned to the registrar's office, which I think is a really good thing to note. So for you registrars who may be like, this doesn't involve me because it's not transcriptable, it does involve you because it is part of the credential ecosystem and it is part of the learning journey of a student. And that's what we do. We're the record keeper for all those things, regardless if it's transcriptable or not. So the digital badging initiative was launched at UT, and I have my notes here over here to the side so I don't misspeak. But back in 2021, and we began offering badges in 2022 in March of 2022. And like I mentioned, it was originally housed elsewhere within academic affairs, and it just joined the registrar's office in fall of 24. But in terms of what we do here at UT, we currently have a little over 300 digital badges that we offer, and those are continuing to increase. And we've had over 3,000 individuals who've earned badges since October of 23. So we have two different types of badges. We have competency badges, and then we also have completion badges. So we have about 30% are competency and about 70% are completion. But the number of competencies are continuing to increase. So when you think about what that means, competency is some sort of assessment, some sort of learning, some sort of something that is being assessed on behalf of the person earning the badge, where a completion badge is somebody sat in a seminar, a workshop, something along those lines. And we have different badge types. You can check out our website to see the different badge types that we offer to show the difference between the two. But we have over between 20, 30 badge issuers across campus. We're a large decentralized campus. So part of it is in the registrar space is just getting out, meeting with the CSUs about their badges, potential opportunities to assess and award them. I can talk about some specific use cases, but I don't want to jump too far ahead, Noah. So let me know.
Well, you said so much awesome stuff there. I love how you put out there that as the Office of the Registrar for something like a completion badge, is a formal recognition from the University of Texas Austin that's maybe not part of the transcript, and you raised your hand and said that should live over here. Like, could you just mind expanding on that a little bit? Like, what was that process, and for you that moment of saying this is a place for us to lead?
Yeah, for sure. And I think part of it, I've had to, as the registrar, had to been okay with the gray space of, I think it's easy for the registrars to be like, we shall have this. And if it's not this, then I can't do it. Because higher education is changing. The landscape is changing. Our students are changing. We know lifelong learning is, students may come here and then they're going to have to get retooled. And what a better place and position than the Office of the Registrar, because we have all that information. The example I always use is my brother was a pharmacy student here at UT Austin, and he comes back and he takes his professional development coursework so he can maintain his pharmacy license. We already have his academic transcript. Why don't we have those other learning things that he's doing? Because it's keeping him with his credential and his licensure to be a pharmacist. So as the registrar, one thing I had to get comfortable with is the gray of not all of it has been figured out, and we are continuing to figure it out as we go. Meaning, right now, if you looked in our catalog, you wouldn't find a policy on badges in our catalog, but we're working to get there. And, working with faculty, we've had campus buy-in and support. And as these things get more formalized and across campus, we've been able to make more headway in getting more, and they're getting more infused in our ecosystem. Now's the time that we're working on the policies. So in the registrar space, some of us, and me included, like to maybe shudder, but it's working in that gray to meet the university where it's at, knowing that that's our ultimate goal.
Yeah, and you say meet, I'm almost everything you described to me sounds like real leadership from, you and the Office of the Registrar for, one of the larger, more decentralized campuses in our country. I think it's, super impressive. And, when folks visit your website, which we'll be sure to link in the show notes, but registrar.uttexas.edu/badging, one of the things that just to me jumps right out is that, kind of system approach that you're clearly taking, that this is, you know, I guess short of a policy guidance on how things are going, that there's, this cataloging of what is being offered. And there's other things I think a lot of folks would not necessarily see as a place for the Office of the Registrar to be taking leadership, that there's, training for, how do you get started with badging? How do you understand what these things are? You actually have professional development courses. I'm guessing that that's one of the completion badges that people can earn at UTOS is for that. And you have a community of practice that you're leading. You have comms about what next for now that you earned a badge, a learner facing page of next steps. And so can you just talk about some of just your systems thinking approach of some of these other pieces that a lot of people would think not my lane?
Yeah, for sure. I can't take credit for 99% of what you talked about, Noah. I just have the fortunate position to work with some really great folks. So back in 2021, when we started talking about digital badging, we had a campus-wide effort to talk about it. And it involved all the colleges and schools. And at that time, it was to try to get a handle on different people were wanting to go out and purchase different software. And it was like, okay. And I didn't even lead it. It was like, you want to come to this meeting, Brenda? Okay, sounds great. To try to get everybody in a room to be like, we don't all need to go out and purchase our own instance of badging software. And then it kind of evolved from there. So it was the instructional designers who created how to badge people badge, that if you're new to the badging space. We have a badging review board where those that want to offer badges review to make sure if they're doing a competency badge that it has competencies and assessments built in. So by no means can I take credit for any of the work other than being involved in the process. So like you mentioned, we do have an active community of practice of over 100 folks that'll all get together at every meeting, but different people will pop in to talk about some of their badging initiatives. So a couple examples of some of the badges that we have are, infused as either part of classes or separate than classes. So an example at UT or within the state of Texas there, and I'm looking at my notes, the state of Texas requires a credential for students to obtain a teaching license. And part of it is for educator mental health training, and that's not part of the curriculum. So what our colleagues in the College of Education did was they created this badge for our students who are wanting to be teachers to take this alternative credential, earn this badge within meets their requirements to sit for their state licensure exam. So that's just one example of where our campus community has really rallied around this badging initiative and has really been creative and identifying opportunities for our students and for learners in general.
And something that just leaps out to me is just that that's something that hopefully we're doing anyways, but that, whether there's just a competitive advantage for our institution, right? That if your school of ed is doing that, they can say, we're doing this. Are the other schools you're looking at doing this for you? Maybe they are, but they're not necessarily thinking to do it in such a visible way, that it can really help an institution stand out and give them a competitive advantage when competing for learners like that. I just gasped when you said 100 members of your community of practice. Can you give some more examples? What does that look like? Just cadence wise, when you talk about how a policy is in the works? Are those some of the constituents who are involved in that? What is your community practice approach?
Yeah, so our community practice meets monthly, and we have a postdoc who works here in the office of the registrar. Her name is Natalie, and she convenes and corrals and helps the colleges and schools units create their badges. So what the cadence of the meeting is, usually it's somebody coming in to talk about their badge that they've created and best practices and saying, here's what I've done, here's what worked, what didn't work, here's the number of learners that I've had that we've had go through and obtain this badge. So that's what our community practice. Like I said, not all 100 come all the time, but we have an active Teams channel where people are like, I'm new, what do I do? I'm not sure how to get started. But we do have a lot of great uh, um, resources on the website to help those that are new to the space. Natalie also worked, we had a student in our School of Information created a SharePoint site where people can log in and get all the forms they need to get the information that we may not have publicly available. So, like I said, I can't take credit for a lot of that other than to be behind the scenes, helping folks along.
Well, and one thing that sounds like you certainly can take credit for as a leader is being comfortable. I know you said you had to be okay with the gray space. That one of the really interesting things you just shared is with that Teams channel for the community practice, it sounds like you have kind of inherently delegated tier one support to the community of practice. And so, just it makes it so much more scalable, I would think that people's first kind of triage answer may not be coming from your office, but from somebody else whose, arrow has already left the bow, as it were, and is ahead of them in the process.
Yeah, for sure. And I think being a small decentralized or a large decentralized campus, part of it is word of mouth of getting those champions across campus, those faculty, those colleges, schools, departments, championing the efforts. Because if it's, the education, College of Education talking about how they're using badges, or the Moody College of Communications talking about how they're using badges, they're the best ambassadors to get other buy-in. I know you asked the question a while ago, Noah, about the policy piece of it. Part of it is, now that it's been more infused in our culture, any academic policy is going to have to go through our faculty governance process, which is involvement with faculty and saying, these are officially recognized university credentials. So now that we've gotten more groundswell, more support, we can say, here are all the badges that we've awarded, and across these curriculums and programs and colleges and schools, it gives more support for getting it more formalized into academic policy.
I think that is just such a great point for registrar leadership and involvement of just, as you said, getting it into the culture so that by the time some of these decisions are made, it's not just us shouting, and raising our fist, but pointing to, does anybody else want my voice? I'm losing my voice anyways. Do you guys want to step in and say how awesome this is? And you have people in that faculty assembly doing your promo for you.
Yeah,
That's just really cool.
I think part of it too is, anytime you start something new, you're like, is this going to take off? Is this not going to take off? Is this the biggest buzzword? Is this, well, people want it. And our numbers show people want it. Students want it. Faculty want it. Just the number that have grown and have continued to increase. That's demonstrated that it needs to be more formalized into policy, but that in and of itself will be easier to sell because we can share those stories with the faculty council as we move towards a faculty governance model.
That is just amazing. And, I'm wishing that we had way more than 15 minutes with you. But we are at time. Just Dr. Brenda Schumann, thank you so much for spending this time with us and sharing your experience as the Assistant Vice Provost and University Registrar at UT Austin.
Thanks, Noah. I appreciate the opportunity, and to all our ACRA members, feel free to reach out if you have any questions or comments, or want to learn more what we did here at UT, and be welcome to partner and learn more from you as well.
Hey, thank you so much, Brenda, and thank you all so much for joining us this week. Have a badge-worthy week, everybody. Bye-bye.